address. It is addressed from. It's called Kenyataan Media. The letterhead is from Jabatan Perdana Menteri / Jabatan Peguam Negara. Nowadays they issue press release like that for some reason or other. Okay, but this has got direct impact on whether Datuk Sri Najib is having a fair trial or otherwise. We want to make certain comment because we are worried of certain developments where people who are obviously implicated are not even brought to justice or to be charged or to be further investigated for purposes of being charged. So I'm going to read, not all, some parts of it, so that you can capture the most salient parts of it. Ya, saya akan baca kenyataan media yang agak lebih mustahak, dan selepas tu kalau ada soalan-soalan yang berbangkit, saya boleh menjawab. Okay, I will read first in English. As you know, Roger Ng, whose full name is Roger Ng Chong Hua, was returned to Malaysia in October 2023, ostensibly to face charges and assist Malaysian investigation following his conviction in the United States. You know, he was convicted in the US. His appeal recently was rejected by the appellate court, and he's facing the 10 years imprisonment. Then this is confirmed by correspondence between the Attorney General's chambers and the US Department of Justice, which has become an exhibit in court about his conviction and his imprisonment. However, you will find this is strange. The cases against him in Malaysia, which is under the Capital Market and Services Act, before even he comes back, or rather before even he came back, was given a DNAA at the request of the prosecutors, contrary to what we expect. Okay, that was on 9 January 2023. He came back a bit later than that, and then other potential cases against him, which we expected, do not seem to appear to be actively pursued, either investigation or prosecution. And then what is even more interesting is, just like Jasmine Lu, he has been placed under witness protection program, where he is treated like a VIP, being escorted here and there. Nothing seems to happen to him, in spite of his conviction, in spite of Jasmine Lu's admission to many things. Now, in the recent press statement issued by the AGC in conjunction with the PMO, this is what they say. I want to read from the original of what they said. This is the Kenyataan Media. I think you probably have seen it. Yeah, dated 12 December 2025. Now, the language is important. And dia berbunyi macam ini, dikatakan perkembangan terkini usaha Malaysia berkaitan proceeding melibatkan dana satu Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB. And it says, tekad bagi menegakkan keadilan, menuntut keazaman dan kecekalan berterusan. Rata-rata masyarakat di Malaysia mempunyai kebimbangan yang mendalam tentang peranan yang dimainkan oleh Goldman Sachs dalam salah satu skim penipuan terbesar dalam sejarah moden yang menyasarkan rakyat Malaysia sebagai mangsa utamanya. My comment is, the expression is a very strong language. They have resolved, and they have also, with continuous tenacity, they wanted to pursue against Goldman Sachs, and of course the officers of Goldman Sachs, because Goldman Sachs is involved in one of the biggest scandal, namely fraud, perhaps the biggest in the world. I've always said this, And I maintain that it is the 1MDB scandal is the biggest scam in the world. Okay? Now, then they say sejak tahun 2023, apabila Roger Ng dikembalikan kepada penyiasat Malaysia, selepas dibicarakan dan disabitkan kesalahan di Amerika Syarikat, terdapat maklumat baru yang ditemukan. Malaysia terus berusaha untuk mendapatkan dokumen-dokumen yang tidak pernah diperoleh. I stress the word yang tidak pernah diperoleh sebelumnya, dan individu termasuk tim Lesnar yang tidak pernah dibicarakan dalam sistem keadilan Malaysia. Sehingga hari ini negara kita mengalami bukan sahaja kesan implikasi kewangan yang berterusan, tetapi juga kerugian yang tidak dapat dipulihkan sehingga usaha giat kita selesai sepenuhnya. Justru Malaysia tidak akan berputus asa dalam mendapatkan pemulihan yang adil dan wajar daripada perbankan gergasi global, that is Goldman Sachs, dan semua yang bersekongkol dalam perlakuan jenayah ini. Last paragraph, dalam usaha ini kerajaan Malaysia telah mengemukakan permintaan ekstradisi bertarikh 14 Ogos 2024, more than a year ago, kepada kerajaan Amerika Syarikat bagi penyerahan tim Lesnar untuk dibicarakan di Malaysia, di mana permintaan tersebut sedang dipertimbangkan oleh kerajaan Amerika Syarikat. Malaysia juga telah mengambil tindakan susulan termasuk mengemukakan maklumat tambahan yang diminta oleh pihak Amerika Syarikat. This was done on 12 December 2025, quite recently, about a week or 10 days ago. Now, this is an important announcement, which in terms of objective is in line with our objective. If you remember, I don't want to read the press statement because you'll read it later. If you can remember, we wanted to introduce evidence through Roger Ng, because Roger Ng we call as a witness. You remember? We call him as a witness. The reason why we call him as a witness was because Roger Ng's lawyer, by the name of Mark Filio, in New York, disclosed to the New York court, which is the New York Eastern District, where he said, you know, the Southern District have given permission to me to disclose this information, but I am blocked by this court, which is the Eastern District Court, because the prosecutor there blocked him from disclosing what he said was evidence that are favorable. The word he used was exculpatory evidence. Exculpatory means evidence that are favorable to Datuk Seri Najib. Very important, eh? He said this, not us. He said, my client has got this. This evidence is favorable, exculpatory, in favor of Datuk Seri Najib. And he said, we are blocked from disclosing this, although ethically and morally and legally we should disclose this, because what we have will show that Datuk Seri Najib's defense is believable, consistent with the document that he has. Very important. So this is evidence that would help Datuk Seri Najib to show that he is not guilty of 1MDB charges in the court. So you tell me whether blocking of this evidence is consistent with a fair trial principle. Under Article 5, together with Article 8, you know, in Malaysia, fair trial is compulsory, is mandatory. If you breach fair trial principle, you don't have to hear any more evidence. You acquit the man. And that's what happened in the review case in the federal court, where it was a 4-1 decision that one in our favor said he didn't receive fair trial. he acquitted Datuk Seri Najib. The other 4 didn't give any serious written judgment, but they just carried on with the conviction. So that's number 1 I want to point out to you. Number 2, with the recent press statement by the AG and PMO, they said we are determined to get to the bottom of every information. And apparently some information are coming in as a result of Roger Ng apparently cooperating, and as a result of perhaps some other evidence which the AGC may have got. Okay? Now, surely it would include what Roger Ng have foreshadowed through his counsel, Mark Agnifilo, that the evidence that he has got is so helpful to Datuk Seri Najib's defense. It will show Datuk Seri Najib was innocent. But we were blocked. But surely what the government announced, that they now got further evidence, must include this, because they say Roger Ng is very cooperative and has been telling the penyiasat all the information that they never had before. That's number 1. Okay? Now, straight away, any of you will be thinking, you don't have to be a lawyer. If Roger Ng in court say, I cannot disclose, that's what he did. I cannot disclose because I am governed by the US court, which is the Eastern Court, Eastern New York Court. So I cannot speak about this. I questioned him many times. He attended with another lawyer, I think Datuk Tan Hock Chuan. We got nothing from him about that evidence that is favorable to Datuk Seri Najib. He refused to disclose it. You remember the judge said, and I said as well, that you are in a Malaysian court, you're not bound by the US court. The judge recognized it. In fact, the judge said it openly. But the judge said, however, I recognize the difficulty of this witness because he has got to go back to New York. He will face the music. So the judge did not compel him. Okay? So we are now left with a situation where he refused to allow us to get the information, but he spilled the beans, surely, to the investigators. And our trial has closed. Decision is on the 26th. So I ask you whether that is a fair trial. Nothing to do with the current judge, because the current judge has got no role to play about what evidence to give or not. He's just a judge. He will have to decide based on what is before him. But I question the motive of the US government through their prosecutors, and I question the motive of any other agencies, local or otherwise, as to why we are deprived of this very valuable evidence. Okay? That's very critical. Now, because I don't want to read the whole lot, I also ask you to consider, since we are talking so much about fair trial, what is happening with Jho Low? Many of you must be thinking, what is happening to Jho Low? Everything seems to be quiet, like as though Jho Low doesn't really exist. And we question this because, quite clearly, Roger Ng, Tim Lesner gave evidence that Jho Low was the number 1 person who was arranging this conspiracy. Very important. It was Jho Low. They mentioned also Jasmine Loo. Jasmine Loo will legalize, by way of documents, what is not legal. She's an expert at legalizing anything illegal in order to pursue the conspiracy to do fraud against 1MDB. Now, thirdly, I hope you remember this. Very important. What did Roger Ng say in court when I gambled and asked him, is there evidence that Datuk Seri Najib is involved with Team Lesnar, Goldman Sachs and you, and he says nothing. Datuk Sri Najib, as far as he was concerned, was not involved in the conspiracy. So you see the connection. First, he's got evidence which he's not allowed to give. But when I ask him a separate question, do you have evidence about Datuk Sri Najib being in the conspiracy? He says no, none. Now, you must think like a prosecutor or defense counsel. This time I ask you to be a lawyer lah. Alright? Namely this. If Roger Ng has got such evidence about Datuk Sri Najib, or Team Lesnar has got such evidence about Datuk Sri Najib, Team Lesnar has been selling everybody. Yeah? He's been putting Roger Ng under the bus. He can easily do likewise with Datuk Sri Najib. Neither Team Lesnar nor Roger Ng have said Datuk Sri Najib is implicated. Mind you, who is giving instruction to Goldman Sachs? It's always been Jho Low. They have thrown Jho Low under the bus, but never Datuk Sri Najib. Okay? So the question is this country doing a dirty deal with Jho Low? Or worse still, doing a corrupt deal with Jho Low? Some kind of deal that we are not even bringing him in, no attempt, in spite of the previous two IGP, namely Tan Sri Bado, Hamid Bado. He said, you give me 2 weeks, I'll bring him here. Nothing happened. More than 2 weeks has passed, I think about 2 years, nothing happened. That, no. When he said it, it was about 2-3 years ago. When he said, give me 2 weeks. You can interpret it in many ways. Namely, he can be brought, but somebody must have stopped Hamid Bado to bring Jho Low in. Now you consider also Jho Low's red corner alert by Interpol has been cancelled. Question mark, why? Why is Jasmine Lu very free? Why is Roger Ng? The promise is that he will face charges here apart from investigation, face the case, and then serve the sentences in the US and in KL. Serve the sentence. He is free as a bird and being protected on top of that, just like Jasmine Lu. Okay, this is the message I want to give you so that as members of the press, especially if you are an investigating journalist, you'll find that this is interesting, what they call it, material for you to go further. Okay, I've got the press release, but before that, if you want to ask any question, I'm here with my team to answer it.
Ansri, why do you think the PMO and AGC came up with such a statement? Would that be considered sub judice?
Okay, I don't think it's sub judice. Neither is my statement sub judice because we have carefully avoided it. I think AGC and PMO came up with that statement is because there's rumblings in the grassroots. What's happening? Roger Ng tak jadi, Jasmine Lu tak jadi. What happened to this fatty Jho Low? Why is he not brought into justice? Nothing has happened. So there must be a lot of grumbling. And this has stirred politically the ease of many politicians. So they have to come up with a statement that we tekad, or rather tekad, we are, committed to searching for these people to further investigate when in fact zero is happening. At least from the perspective of you, members of the media, members of the public, and ourselves. Nothing is happening.
So when was Jho Low removed from the Interpol?
Red notice about 6 months?
6 months ago?
6 months ago? No reason. Okay? But we know Jho Low is negotiating to pay money in order to be free from the charge. You remember one of our clients, Cik Wan here will also tell you because he is involved, the person by the name of Riza Aziz, which is Rosma's son. We settle his cases and we paid everything here. He entered compound because they couldn't prove. Otherwise, they cannot prove it. So we entered it. In spite of that, after he left the country legally, he was being hounded for a small, meager sum. So, why not Jho Low?
You mentioned that he's negotiating with who? Is he negotiating?
Obviously, he's negotiating with branches of the government or the enforcement authorities. Many things are happening. You should also consider about what is happening in Switzerland, for instance. Without mentioning name, you should know that what is going on with this country, what is going on with law enforcement. It's very important. I'm not going to pinpoint which law enforcement, but there are many law enforcement involved. As you know, Roger Ng is also implicated with Security Commission, not just police, not just MACC. Security Commission is also looking at him.
So you're basically saying that you feel Dr. Najib did not get fair defense in the trial?
He never got fair trial. In both cases, SRC as well as here. SRC, you know, is the first case probably in the Commonwealth. The federal court never heard Datuk Sri Najib's argument because the change of counsel was not given the daylight of having just 2 months, 3 months adjournment. Any other cases, you go and sit, park yourself in the federal court. Lawyers stand up and say, my lord, I've just been appointed, can I get another date? Granted. Datuk Sri Najib, no. Because they have to send him in order for him not to be active politically.
So, Tan Sri, sorry to check, what your concerns here was this raised in your closing, your submission to the High Court, and also are you saying that come Friday when the ruling is delivered?
Come what?
Come Friday when the ruling is delivered, you
26, you mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it will not be fair to that ruling.
Well, I cannot go that far because I've already submitted before the High Court about the lack of fair trial, which include Roger Ng's episode. Closing submission, we covered all that. Okay? What the judge is going to do, of course, it is his discretion. I can only comment after the decision. But we raised this.
Can you also walk us through what are some permutations next week with the addendum hearing as well on Monday? Does winning the petition for the house arrest, does that mean that this week can be out next week itself, or there is still avenues that needs to be exhausted?
You use the right word, permutation. We do not know what the permutation is going to be. Your guess is as good as mine. What is the decision on Monday? We don't know. What is the decision on Friday 26th? We don't know. So we hope Monday is a good decision for us, and we hope the 26th likewise will be a good decision for us because there are so many grounds that are in our favor.
Let's see, what exactly does a good decision on Monday mean for you? Does that mean like Najib will be able to immediately serve house arrest, and what would that look like in practice? Like we have
On the 22nd Monday, 22nd? Yeah, 22nd Monday, if, I want to underline if, because otherwise somebody will put in a contempt proceeding against me. They're so happy to put that. Now, if the decision is in favor of Datuk Sri Najib, technically he must get the house arrest immediately. Okay?
what would that look like in practice? Because she doesn't have regulations on house arrest.
1 minute, you have to repeat that. Somebody is spying on us. Yes.
What would that look like in practice? Because Malaysia doesn't have regulations on house arrest.
No, you're wrong.
We only have
No, you're wrong. You're repeating the wrong statement by the Minister of Home Affairs. He didn't read his law. They have passed not just law, they have passed regulations. Regulation 111, 113, 114 of the prison regulation which is directly under him. So there is regulation and there has been precedent. You remember the case of Kenneth Lee, otherwise known as Kenny Lee, who due to something that went wrong with his thinking, he just shot someone opposite the old Istana. on a day where the Chinese believe the day of the hungry ghost. So they thought the hungry ghost may be responsible for it. Somebody else they blame lah. Anyway, so he got death sentence. Thereafter, because of pardon, I think he was converted to 20 years or something, because those days, 20 years maximum. And then he got another pardon, 15 years. But his father was very ill. His mother, who was Ruby Lee. Datuk Ruby Lee was a very famous philanthropist and welfare-oriented person. I think she was also very active in the ambulance. She died, leaving the husband, Douglas Lee, who was a former banker and who was very ill. Nobody to take care. So Kenneth Lee again applied for house arrest so that he can be the only person taking care of the father. And he got it under the section which I have pointed out. That is section 43, read with section 3 and regulation 111, 113, 114 of the prison regulation and law. So there is precedent. Obviously the minister was not aware.
Two clarifications. One is, can we have some clarity on the balance loans from YNMDB, which the government keep on saying that it adds on, it compounds to the government's debts. Then at the same time, the other thing is, has the parole for the person been like?
Okay. Parole has not arisen. That's simple, okay? So I won't comment more on that. On the financial status of what MDB has received, there has not been clarity or transparency on the part of the government in spite of questions being asked in Parliament. Many people think the government has got more than what they lost in 1MDB. So much so that 3 individuals have stated we should perhaps create some other 1MDB scandal, then we can make more money. Because they say we got more than what we lost. But of course, the ministers keep on saying we haven't got enough. What is the truth? There has not been any transparency to lay down. This is what we lost under this agreement, and this is what we got. This is the interest. I can admit the interest will be overwhelming. But I think even the interest is covered. And the settlement with Goldman Sachs at one time was laughable. Was so ridiculously settled. I don't know who settled it. Because Goldman Sachs owes us a lot more money because they, together with Jho Low, literally broke our bank in 1MDB. Right?
Sorry, just a point of clarity. On Monday, if the court rules in your favor, will you ask for Dato' Sri Najib to be released to house arrest immediately on the day itself?
Well, I can ask that. But I also am reasonable to recognize that they will have to make arrangement. They got to which house, and then security guard or prison officer, things like that, and condition. It may take a couple of days for them to do that because they have got experience.
The prosecution appeal for it? Can the prosecution appeal?
Appeal if the decision in favor of, yeah, of course they can appeal.
So will that stop them from going to his house?
They can appeal, but in my opinion, they cannot stay. They cannot stay because this is a pronouncement in favor of liberty. So you cannot stay liberty. Liberty must be given.
Thank you. On the 22nd of his house arrest. So basically what the court is actually ruling is that the addendum exists and should be carried out. Is that,
That basically is the issue.
Or that it's not, it doesn't exist. What
No. Existence is already admitted. After so long denying it, the Attorney General, credit to him, because he took the bull by the horn, biting the bullet in a manner of speaking. He told the federal court, addendum exists. After so many said, it doesn't exist. Minister of Home Affairs suddenly become a lawyer and say it is hearsay. Things like that. But now they admit it exists. Question is its implication, its effectiveness. That's what they argued that day.
Adakah Pertukaran Menteri wilayah akan mengungkapkan lagi untuk mendapatkan kebebasan kepada Datuk Seri?
Sorry, tak faham.
Pertukaran Menteri wilayah
Ya.
Gembur.
Ya. Jadi pertukaran menteri wilayah kesannya hanyalah terhadap lembaga pengampunan yang akan datang. Jadi kita tak mau cakap berkenaan dengan itu sebab itu adalah cerita-cerita lain berkenaan dengan kes-kes lain yang melibatkan menteri yang baru. Alright?
Thank you. Since you brought up the issue of right to fair trial and everything, with the release of the press release by the AG statements, will you please bring this up with the judge Colin Sapera on Friday before he delivers his judgment to consider possibly, his judgment?
Okay. I'm sure he would have read it because I think everybody in this country have read the media release. But whether a judge can do anything, or a judge can invite parties and say, look, address this, is something which is the call of the judge. I think even if I make application, nothing will happen. Right? Yes.
Is Dr. Sri Najib Razak ready to receive the decision on December 26th? Because now you're bringing up this fair trial issue. Are you trying to get the decision postponed?
No, we never want that. I'm just telling you that this is what is happening in our country. Okay, because after the event, suddenly everybody say, oh, we got new evidence. Roger Ng is cooperating and the most cooperative person.
How would the decision on the 22nd affect sentencing on the 26th?
Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, so but if he gets, if he's found guilty, then would he be serving under house arrest, which is, a pardon under the
No, that is something else. Don't mix up. 1 MDB is 1 MDB. This is SRC that you're talking about. Okay?
Actually, there was a bit of an uproar about money being deposited into Dr. Sri Najib's account. So I wanted to know from your view and your clarification, how does Dr. Sri Najib deserve to be released early in your clarification?
Oh, you're asking me to run the entire case again.
No, I mean just in a wide
It's virtually impossible. You must read our defense. I can tell you, and we can tell you with our eyes wide open, not batting an eyelid, that he is innocent in both SRC as well as 1MDB. Read the defense. But I cannot go more because decision is on the 26th. All right?
Dr. Sri Najib Razak is ready to receive the decision on December 26th. Is he ready?
What can he do? He receive it lah. There's nothing he can do. He received the judgment. He can't say, I don't want to receive it. Can you go back to your chambers?
There's no instruction from Dr. Sri Najib to postpone the verdict.
No.
Tan Sri, so if you already said that AG already confirmed that the addendum exists, so are you then the ruling? Do you think it should be that are you looking for a favorable ruling?
Obviously.
Like so, what exactly then is the court going to decide if the addendum already exists? I'm sorry, I'm still a little confused by this.
No. You're asking me to go into the brain of the judge,
No, I mean,
which I cannot do.
What is the actual ruling that if it already exists, then by right?
You see, if you follow that argument there, the existence, they are not contending anymore. At one time they said it's hearsay. So, if the addendum exists, that piece of paper exists from the Yang Di-Pertuan Agong, they are saying it is still not valid. Well, they have given so many grounds. You should follow the case. Go back, check the media, what is their argument, and what is our argument. Okay? I don't think that argument applies. I think once it exists, it should be enforced. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you. Who? Mana ni? Oh.